Hey, welcome back to KG Law. I'm Kelly Regal Green, the owner and founder of KG Law here in Sterling Heights, Michigan. Had an interesting case walk through my door, which just, not never surprised. Nothing never ever surprises me anymore. But what had happened is parents have been divorced for quite some time. They have a daughter and a son. The son has decided that he wanted to grow his hair out for no other reason that was known to non-custodial parent at the time. Non-custodial parent doesn't have an issue. However, son all of a sudden showed up at visitation with his hair basically all cut off in almost a buzz cut is how it was described to me. And child informed dad that mom had his hair buzzed because he was being bad. Dad was upset because child was upset and was like, that's not an appropriate punishment. So we did a little bit digging, and I said, well, have you talked to mom about it? And he said, dad was like, no, I'm a little too upset to have a rational conversation. I was like, well, that's kind of fair enough. However, we need to at least ask. So we made some inquiries, and mom just was tired of the little boy young man having long hair. In doing some further in research, the child had decided to grow his hair long so that he could then cut it off to donate it to Wigs for Kids, which is a great thing to do. But so the hair didn't end up getting donated. So the little boy or young man is completely devastated. Dad is livid, and mom is like, punishment for being mouthy. So the question became, what can we do to prevent this from happening again? And realistically, it took a bit of digging and looking at some prior judgments. And honestly, I phoned a friend who's another lawyer, and I was like, hey, what? And we all came to the same conclusion that absolutely we could write in that neither party can change the physical appearance of either of the minor children without consent from the other parent. We also advise mom that cutting a child's hair should not be a punishment for being mouthy. But generally, and absolutely, my judges will sign off on an order to not change the outwardly appearance of a minor without the other party's consent. And really and truly, you shouldn't need a separate order from that, because I kept getting hung up on the fact that that's part of joint legal custody, as far as I'm concerned, and a lot of my judges are concerned that that's part of that. So, but it was an interesting question that I called in the think tank, as I call my colleagues sometimes, because you know it's not a standard question that we get asked often, and we all kind of kicked around different ideas of how do you handle this, and ideally how do you handle it without getting judges involved and all of this other stuff. So that was our conclusion: is you absolutely can put in a judgment of divorce, or a parenting time order that neither party can physically alter the child's appearance, including major haircuts. Now, taking them in for a trim, not a big deal, but to go from long hair to short hair would, need the consent of the other party. Having their ears pierced would be another one that comes to mind that would need to be a joint decision. And I will tell you that I've had that question come up, and absent it being for like a religious or cultural belief, my judges are not inclined to order that a child be allowed to have their ears pierced as a minor. But yeah, that those were that was the general consensus. What do you think? What would you do in that case? Let me know down below.